Hey, it's okay. I'm back again with another doodle from Tales from the Crypt Keeper Halloween Edition 2017. I put up a video yesterday and talked about how it's not going to be ready for pre-order on Halloween, which I had hoped, but it will be. I'm thinking it will be ready for pre-order the week of Halloween, that weekend, next weekend actually. You see here the 31st is Tuesday. That weekend on the 4th or 5th, the pre-order should be ready then. I'm working hard on this comic. It just turns out to be longer than I expected. I was thinking this was originally going to be a 12-page comic, and it turned into 15 pages. And usually it takes me a week to do 4 pages, 4 or 5. So I added about a week of work onto it. That's why that and the shingles. Sorry for always bringing it up, but I feel like I've talked it to death, and everyone in the world knows I have shingles, or I had it. But that's why it kind of got delayed, and why the comic's a little bit later than I hoped. Not on Halloween, but very close to it. So I'm going to hopefully get pre-order out on the 4th or 5th, and then have the full comic available a week after that. I like to have about a week between pre-order and actual full release. The real thing. Okay. And I was talking last night about the horror movies that I've been on a marathon watching. I kind of claim that Netflix has had the best horror movie selection this year. Hulu does put up a good fight. They've got very good classic scary movies, but the volume with Netflix is just the best. So if you have Netflix, this is a good time to do a movie marathon, scary movies, and just in time for Halloween. And I could put up a list on my website, on my DA profile. If you go down to the journal, you can see all the movies I've listed. Every scary movie that is available through Hulu, Netflix, Amazon Prime, and HBO. So that's what I've been using to watch scary movies. And let's see, I went ahead and focused a little bit more on Netflix, since it has been the best way to watch scary movies. And focusing on it, I did a little bit more kind of research and a little bit more planning. And here's what I've broken it down into. Four categories. There's like a bloody slasher category. I would do Saw and Hostel. Let's see, like the Babysitter movie. That was definitely a bloody slasher movie. I feel like Babysitter could have been so much better if they kind of ventured into a more imaginative story, but they really just kept it to a bloody slasher movie. There's a fictional imaginative story that involves like a spiritual horror, like demons and ghosts. And I would say an imaginative story because it feels fictional. And if you watch those, you're not going to be like super scared after you watch them going to bed at night, because it was just a story. Maybe when you're young or a child it was scary, but now it's not. The other category was a realistic spiritual horror, and that means something that feels very grounded in realism, something that doesn't have an elaborate story. It feels more personal, and it feels like something that's a lot more possible than something about like witches or I guess tales and stuff like that. Very grounded in realism, small settings, realistic characters. And then there's another category I would say would be like monster movies. you've got a monster or a fictional character in this movie that is, unrealistic, but scary. We've got like werewolves, vampires, like Freddy Krueger, Jaws. I feel like Jaws might fit into the realistic spiritual horror, even though it's not, spiritual. It just kind of has that realism. I mean, like, you are afraid to go in the water after watching Jaws, and you kind of, and it's kind of realistic because, I don't know how realistic, but somewhat realistic, So those are the 4 categories I've got: bloody slasher, fictional imaginative spiritual horror, and then a realistic spiritual horror, and monster movies. I would recommend the movies in red. I broke it down, and I just realized that like the realistic spiritual horror movies, those are my favorites. I really enjoyed We Are Still Here, The Canal, 1922, Housebound, A Dark Song. Those are my recommendations, and I tend to really like the spiritual horror kind of based in realism. I don't know why, but he's got that realistic element, and it doesn't feel super fictional. I guess I like to be based in reality, but somewhat in the fictional world. I don't really believe in ghosts and demons, so it feels a little bit fictional and like imaginative for me, but I would say something like The Strangers is a bloody slasher movie. In that movie, that I feel like that is the scariest movie I've ever seen, just because it's based so much on realistic events, and the possibility of that happening to you or to someone is very likely to happen, and that just like drives their point home. Like, oh my gosh, people just get like senselessly murdered just for people's fun, and that's just like a really scary thought. And so that's why I think it's that's a movie like you watch and you're scared to be at the house by yourself. And I don't like those kind of movies because I don't want to. I guess they're good to watch because they kind of break your naiveness. Like, you're not as naive as when you hadn't seen those movies. Like, it teaches you. They're tales of caution. Be careful what your who you go up to and talk to. Be careful if someone comes to the door and you don't know them, that kind of thing. If something feels a little odd, like an odd situation, have your guard up, that kind of thing. Like, it's good to watch those movies for that kind of teaching is helping you learn to be careful because it's a dangerous world out there. But gosh, they are hard to watch and go on living, I guess. And that's why I don't like them. Like, world is bad enough. I don't want to be reminded of how terrible it is. Anyways, so yeah, I do recommend the realistic spiritual horrors, and the imaginative story horrors they're fun. They don't stay with me as long, I guess. And the bloody slasher movies feel like they fall into that torture porn category where you're just watching it to see people get hurt, and a lot of times they try to justify it, but ultimately you're enjoying watching people get hurt. So that's what I don't like about it. Anyways, this is a panel from Tales from the Crypt Keeper Halloween edition 2017. Maybe there will be a Halloween edition next year, and it'll be 2018. 18. I love doing these Tales from the Crypt Keepers stories close to Halloween. What was it? Tales from the Crypt Keeper 5 has a Halloween cover image because it was also done right around Halloween, and someone had mentioned that they would love to see a Halloween cover. So yeah, that's how it happened. If you have any requests or anything for this issue, be sure to let me know in the comments. Drop over on my DeviantArt profile, leave a note, or send an email through my website, which you can find below in the description. This is Okayokayokok, and thanks for stopping by and watching another video. I hope you enjoy Stranger Things 2, which is out now, and I will give another breakdown of that tomorrow probably. Go ahead and grab Netflix, watch a few scary movies, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.